Yo, what's up? This is your girl Dragon, and it's time for another Fortnite creative tutorial. So let's jump right into it and have some fun. Today we're going to learn how to create a one-player game mode within a multiplayer game mode. This is a very much needed mechanic, especially if you're trying to retain players. You never want a player to go into a game and there's no one to play with. Give them a guard to shoot. Give them something else to do. Give them an event that happens if there's only one player in the game. I'm going to show you how to do that with a player counter and a guard spawner. This tutorial will take you through learning how to spawn a guard if there's only one player in the game, teleport them to that area so they can do something, and if there's two players in the game, the guard will not spawn, and it will teleport those players into the game mode so they can do something. They can fight against each other, do whatever you guys like that you feel is fun to do for a multiplayer game. Again, this can work for more than two players. The main event here is if there's one player in the game, then one particular event will take place. So let me go ahead and show you guys what the setup looks like and what devices you need. Let's jump right into it. All right. So you're going to need player spawner pads. I'm using this tutorial with just two players. If you're going to have more than two, make sure you designate one pad for your team one player, and then everybody else can be left on team any. You're going to need a channel device. You're going to need two timers. So one timer is going to be for the player counter, and you're going to need two Hud Message Devices, of course, for the player counter. You're going to need a timer for the lobby countdown, and you're going to need a Mutator Zone. All right, then you're going to need a game teleporter and a guard spawner. All right, so let's go ahead and jump into what these things are doing. So when a player spawns in, it's going to enable or disable specific devices. I'm using this channel device here to do that. You can also connect those events to the spawner if you like, but I like to have an additional device to take care of that. Once the player spawns and sends the events to where they need to go, we're going to have two timers that start at the same time. We have a game start timer that is going to be connected to the player counter. When this hits 5 seconds, the player counter is going to compare the target to see how many players are in the game. If there's one player in the game, then it's going to succeed and show a message. And this is basically working like an if-else statement. If there's one player in the game, it's going to show a message solo mode. Else, meaning if there is not, then it's going to show multiplayer mode. Once that's done and 2 more seconds goes past, this timer will succeed and enable the Mutator Zone. All players within the zone will be teleported to the game area, and the game will begin. If one player is teleported to this area, then the guard will spawn. If two players are in this area, the guard will not spawn. And that's the gist of it. Now, once you know the base of this setup, you can actually connect this to anything else you like. Let's say you don't want the guard spawner to be there. If there's one player in the game and you want them to be, teleported to an area where there's a boss, well, then you can have that event take place. If you want them to be teleported to a whole new area, then consider having a separate Mutator Zone that will change their class and teleport them to another area, and they can do whatever it is you like. So there's a lot you can do with this. Feel free to work with it and adjust it to your needs. All right, let's go ahead and jump into the settings so you guys can check it out. All right, first we're going to start with the spawner pads. All right, so that is for the first one. Let's check out the second one. Keep in mind that this is going to be the setting for all the remaining players in your game, for all the spawner pads, for all the remaining players. Now let's check out the spawner channel events. All right, and the player counter timer, our game start timer 2. Now keep in mind this is the very first player spawner for the one that's marked as Team 1. So this starts when the very first player in the game spawns up. So make sure you have it designated to this one pad here. And there it is right here. They'll also be responsible for starting the main game start timer as you see here. So we have the main timer and we have the player counter timer, game start timer 2. All right, now on the player counter. All right, and then we have the if else happening here with the Hud Message Devices. So if there is one, we're going to show solo mode. And if there isn't just one, we're going to show multiplayer mode. All right, let's jump to the timer. And this is the main game timer. Again, this timer should always be 2 or 3 seconds after your player counter timer. Alright, so it's going to send an event here. This is important to make sure it's enabled on phase none. Alright, and let's jump into the game mode. Take a look at the teleporter. Also wanted to note, if you wanted to add a tracker or anything really cool, this would be the great place to put it on Teleport Send Event 2. So you can put Send Event to Tracker and add to player or assign to player, and that will be pretty cool. Cool addition to the game. Now let's check out the gun spawner. And then again, this is personal preference, so you don't have to set it up this way. If you want them to be in a specific team, you can. Just make sure it works with your game. There you go. That's it. Now you know how to create a one-player game mode within a multiplayer game mode. There's so much you can do with this. But before I go into what more you can do with this, let's go ahead and take a look at the playtest. And you can see how this is working. Let's do it. All right, let's go ahead and jump into two-player mode here. We have 2 players in the game. So you're going to see that player counter turn red. That means that there's more than 1 player. So let's see. So it's red right away. And once it calculates that there's 1 player, you see it goes to multiplayer mode. There's no guard, and we can just do whatever we want in here. It's a pickaxe fight. Cool. Let's go ahead and see what happens when there's only 1 player in the game. Alright, so now there's only 1 player in the game. Let's go for it. Now you can see that player counter turn blue. That means there's only 1 player, and you should see it say solo mode. Perfect. Now I'm teleported to the game, and it's time to fight. And pickaxe fight. Aha! I win. Alright, cool. And there you go. Awesome, easy peasy, so much you can do with this. And I want to see what you guys can do with this. So if you do use this tutorial and it works for you, post your note code in the comments. I'll check it out. I would love to see it. Alright, that's going to do it for the playtest. I do hope it helps and it's beneficial for your next project. Be sure to play around with it and experiment. There's so much you can do with this little mechanic. It's crazy. I'm going to go ahead and leave you guys here. Thanks for checking out the video, and don't forget to like and sub. It really helps the channel. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!